The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my old Ford struggling to keep up. I'm Torrin, 46, and until recently I thought I had it all. A comfortable life in Minneapolis, a steady job as a software developer, and a wife, Isolde, whom I adored. We'd been married for 15 years, a milestone I'd planned to celebrate with a surprise trip to Iceland, a place Shed always dreamed of visiting. But the dream shattered that Tuesday. Started subtly with Isolde working late more often. She's a marketing manager for a local advertising firm, so occasional late nights weren't unusual, but this was different. She seemed distant, preoccupied. Our conversations dwindled to perfunctory exchanges about the weather and what we'd had for dinner. I tried to bridge the gap, suggesting date nights, weekend getaways, anything to rekindle the spark. She'd brush it off, citing work stress, deadlines, or simply claiming she was tired. One evening, I decided to surprise her at her office with dinner. I picked up her favorite Thai food from that place she loved on Hennepin Avenue and drove downtown, a goofy grin plastered on my face. The receptionist informed me Isolde had left hours ago for a conference in Chicago. Chicago? I hadn't heard anything about a conference. A knot of unease tightened in my stomach. I called her cell. It went straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's me," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "Just wanted to see how the conference is going. Call me when you get a chance." She didn't call back. All night I tossed and turned, the unanswered call echoing in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The next morning, driven by annoying anxiety, I did something I never thought I was capable of. I snooped. I knew her email password. She'd used it for years, a variation of our anniversary date. I logged in, my hands trembling, and braced myself for what I might find. The first email that caught my eye was from someone named Cashin. The subject line read, "Missing you." My blood ran cold. I clicked on it, my heart pounding in my chest. The email was short but devastating. "Isolde, last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. Can't wait to see you again on Friday." Cashin, Friday, that was today. The conference in Chicago was a lie. She was meeting him today. I scanned through the rest of her inbox, each email a fresh stab wound. There were dozens of them, spanning several weeks, intimate exchanges, shared jokes, plans for secret rendezvous. I learned that Cashin was a freelance graphic designer who occasionally worked with Isolde's firm. They'd met at a company event and apparently hit it off immediately. The emails painted a picture of a passionate, all-consuming affair, a world away from the cold, distant woman I'd been living with. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The air in the room seemed to thin, making it hard to breathe. My vision blurred and I stumbled back, collapsing onto the bed. 15 years. 15 years of love, trust, and commitment, all reduced to this string of digital betrayals. I spent the rest of the day in a daze, replaying memories in my head, searching for clues I'd missed, moments where I should have seen the truth. But there were none. She'd been so good at hiding it, at compartmentalizing her life. I felt like I didn't know her at all. As Friday afternoon approached, I knew I couldn't just sit there and do nothing. I had to confront her. I had to know why. I drove to her office, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I parked across the street and waited, watching the entrance. Time seemed to slow to a crawl. Finally, at around 5:30 p.m., I saw her. She walked out of the building, her face flushed, a small smile playing on her lips. And then I saw him, Cashin. He joined her on the sidewalk, and they embraced, a lingering, intimate embrace that confirmed everything I'd read in those emails. They walked hand in hand down the street, disappearing into the crowd. That was it. That was the moment something inside me broke. The pain was so intense it felt physical, like a knife twisting in my chest. I started the car and followed them, my mind racing, trying to figure out what to do. I couldn't confront them in public. I needed to talk to Isolde alone. They went to a small Italian restaurant in northeast Minneapolis, a place we used to frequent. I parked down the block and watched them through the window. They were laughing, holding hands across the table, completely oblivious to the devastation they'd caused. I couldn't take it anymore. I walked into the restaurant, my heart pounding in my chest. Isolde saw me first. Her face drained of color, her eyes widening in shock. Cashin turned around, a confused expression on his face. "Torrin," Isolde stammered. "What are you doing here?" "I know," I said, my voice trembling. "I know everything. The restaurant went silent. All eyes were on us. Isolde stood up, pulling me aside. "We need to talk," she whispered, her voice pleading. "Not here, yes, here," I said, my voice rising. "Everyone needs to know what you've been doing." Cashin stood up, his face hardening. "Look, buddy, this is between them," he said, stepping between us. "You need to back off, stay out of this," I snapped, pushing past him. "Isolde, tell me why. Why did you do this?" She started to cry, her shoulders shaking. "I don't know," she sobbed. It just happened," I repeated, incredulous. "You've been planning this for weeks. I read your emails, Isolde. I know all about your little rendezvous." Cashin looked from Isolde to me, his face a mask of guilt. "Isolde, what's he talking about?" he asked. She didn't answer. She just stood there, crying, her head bowed in shame. "She's been sleeping with him," I said, my voice dripping with venom. "She's been lying to me for weeks. She's been betraying me in every way imaginable." The silence in the restaurant was deafening. People were staring, whispering, their faces a mixture of shock and pity. I couldn't bear to look at Isolde any longer. I turned and walked out of the restaurant, leaving her standing there with her lover, their secret exposed. The next few weeks were a blur. I moved out of our house and into a small apartment in Uptown. I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce. Isolde didn't fight it. She knew she was in the wrong. The only thing she asked was that I not tell anyone about the affair, that I protect her reputation. I refused. I wanted everyone to know what she'd done. The divorce was finalized quickly. I got the house, the car, and half of our savings. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to be done with her, to erase her from my life. But the pain lingered. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't focus on work. I was consumed by anger, resentment, and a deep, aching sadness. I couldn't understand how someone I'd loved so deeply could betray me in such a cruel and calculated way. One day, a few months after the divorce, I received a call from a woman named Una. She said she was Cashin's wife and that she'd heard about the affair. She wanted to meet me. I was hesitant, but I agreed. We met at a coffee shop near my apartment. Una was a petite woman with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. She looked exhausted, defeated. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I had no idea. Cashin has always been like that. I should have known better." We talked for hours, sharing our stories of betrayal and heartbreak. We discovered that Cashin had a history of infidelity, that he'd cheated on Una multiple times throughout their marriage. She'd always forgiven him, hoping he would change. But he never did. As we talked, I realized that Una was just as much a victim as I was. She'd been living a lie, believing in a man who was incapable of love or loyalty. We found comfort in each other's shared pain, a sense of solidarity in our shared experience. Over the next few months, Una and I became close friends. We spent hours talking, laughing, and supporting each other through the healing process. We discovered that we had a lot in common, a shared love of art, music, and a desire for a simple, honest life. One evening, as we were walking along the stone arch bridge, Una stopped and turned to me, her eyes sparkling in the moonlight. "Torrin," she said, "I know this might sound crazy, but I think I am falling in love with you." I looked at her, my heart swelling with emotion. I'd never considered the possibility of finding love again, especially not with the wife of the man who destroyed my marriage. But as I looked into Una's eyes, I knew that she was telling the truth. And I knew that I was falling in love with her too. We started dating, cautiously at first, unsure of how to navigate the complexities of our situation. But our love grew stronger with each passing day. We found solace and healing in each other's arms, a sense of peace and happiness that I thought I'd never experience again. A year later, Una and I got married in a small ceremony on the shores of Lake Superior. It was a simple, beautiful day, surrounded by our closest friends and family. As I looked at Una standing beside me, her face radiant with joy, I knew that I was finally free from the pain of the past. I'd found love again, not in the way I'd expected, but in a way that was deeper, more meaningful, and more real. Isolde, on the other hand, didn't fare so well. Cashin, it turned out, was a serial cheater. After Una left him, he quickly moved on to another woman, leaving Isolde heartbroken and alone. Her reputation was tarnished, her career stalled, and her life in shambles. I heard through mutual friends that she regretted her affair, that she realized what she'd lost. But it was too late. She'd made her choices and she had to live with the consequences. I learned a valuable lesson from this experience. That betrayal can be a catalyst for change, that even in the darkest of times, love can still bloom, and that sometimes the greatest blessings come from the most unexpected places. My life with Una is a testament to the resilience of the human heart and the power of forgiveness and second chances.